So I was just a part of something really sad in the last hour. Um, and I was all set to sit down and give my thoughts on a conversation that Ezra Klein and Ta-Nehisi Coates had recently about a controversy over Ezra Klein's response to the death of Charlie Kirk. And I still plan to do that. Um, but on my way home from a physical therapy appointment today, and this was again just in the last hour, and trigger warning for anybody who's sensitive to um, animals and the pain of animals. Um, I was coming back on the 210. This is in LA. The 210 is a very big freeway. It's about as big a freeway as you get. And I had merged on, you know, there's that extra lane for um, cars to merge onto. And I was actually being a little greedy, like I could have gotten into line earlier, but I went further down where then another on-ramp was merging. And so the traffic was a little backed up, and we're going kind of slow for being on the interstate. And there's a big shoulder there. Um, and as I'm going by, out of the corner of my eye, I see what looks like a child's stuffed animal or a dog toy in the shape of a kitten. And then I looked at it and I realized that it was a kitten. Um, And the kitten was very exposed out in the bright sunlight, right up next to the retaining wall or the sound wall, you would call it, with no cover in sight. And it was clearly in distress. And, it's one of those things that as it's happening in real time, it's just happening in a handful of seconds. And so I had the ability to pull over. And I emptied the pockets of my hoodie that was on the passenger seat, with the idea that, maybe I'd be able to get out and throw the hoodie over the kitten. And as I was approaching the kitten, again, it was clear that it was in a lot of distress. And I didn't know if it was injured or if it was sick or if it was just, really worn out. I was I guess hoping that it would let me approach it. As I got closer, I decided not to throw my hoodie over it because I thought it might just let me walk up to it and grab it. And instead, it just sprung up and ran down the the shoulder there. And there was a indentation in the concrete, a square indentation. And from a distance, I thought maybe it was a pipe or something like that. So I was planning to go up and, maybe put my hoodie over the opening. In the moment, I don't really know what I was planning to do. But as it saw me approach, it sprung out of the opening and ran across all 5 lanes of traffic. And I mean, it was packed with traffic and jumped over the divider. So I got back into my car, got off on the next shoulder, exited, went back in the other direction. And there it was, mangled in the third lane. I'm pretty sure that it met with a swift death. But, it's just heartbreaking. I'm a huge cat fan. I have two cats at home, both of whom I rescued from the same shopping mall parking lot a year apart. Um, and it hurts, being the, proximal cause of its death. Um, when I exited back over and went back and sort of backtracked, back to where it had all begun, the kitten really was completely exposed, and it was at least 100 yards from any sort of safety. And I imagine that it would have met a similar end, one way or the other. Um, though I can't help, but feel that responsibility. Um, and I'm somebody who studies, a lot of philosophy, especially the Eastern religions, Advaita Vedanta. Um, and I'd actually given a recent attempt at all that, um, and hit sort of the same brick wall I always hit, which is they really, at a certain point, ask you to treat the world as if it's an illusion and basically not to get involved. And then I always find myself in a situation like this where I feel like there's something I should be doing personally. And then, you know, there's all these meta thoughts about the ego and to get involved or not to get involved. And so I'm just processing all that. Um, and I realized that, one of the pitfalls of the internet is oversharing. This certainly isn't going to change that one way or the other. One of the thoughts that I have along the lines of, hearing the criticism of people oversharing their pain and people not keeping things private anymore. Um, I mean, first of all, that ship has sailed. That's the world we live in. Um, but second, I guess perhaps a deeper, more refined criticism along those lines would be, sometimes oversharing is done in a narcissistic way. Um, but of course, I can't say that without then, turning that around on me. Um, but maybe what we're lacking or what we could use more of is vulnerability, um, and truth. Um, and so, what I'm trying to get at in this channel, I've done numerous channels before I started doing this sort of thing about 3 years ago. And so I've had different channels and different styles of content. But the idea here with the channel name, A Perfect Venn Diagram, is just this idea that, you know, maybe if we start thinking about a perfect Venn diagram and what the ingredients of that would be, what the various circles, the blend of um, things that are needed such that we could move past the division that we have here in America in our culture and our politics. Um, and maybe one of those circles in the Venn diagram is vulnerability. Um, so I'm just sharing what happened, um, thinking about vulnerability, um, perhaps as being the antidote to the gotcha culture that we live in. A lot of that happening in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder, on both sides. There was this mass shooting and church burning in Michigan over the weekend. And, I was a little disappointed to see podcasts that I listened to, just in all caps. It was a MAGA weirdo extremist. See, gotcha. You guys do it too. And of course, there was a ton of that coming from the right in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder, even before we knew who the shooter was and had any idea of what his motivations might be. So maybe, part of the perfect Venn diagram being, um, true vulnerability, um, you know, um, and also, just in the wake of what happened in the last hour, um, also knowing sort of the impossibility of the perfect Venn diagram. You know, I'm one of these people, this will haunt me. I'll run it over in my head. Should I have not? Um, in this particular case, now I wish I didn't. But of course, in the future, I may do a similar thing, and then, of course, every incident is its own thing, and that is so, so important. Um, I've stopped for wayward pets dozens of times. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. It hasn't ever worked out this badly. But there have been times when I've stopped for little dogs, read the tag, been able to make a reunion. I have a dog. If my dog was ever to get out, I would just, you know, praise the ground the person walked on who took the time to, get my dog, read the tag, call me, that sort of thing. Um, so that's basically it. Just my thoughts on that. Um, yeah, and hoping that this channel can be helpful, and hoping that I can let this go in the next couple of days. All right, thanks for watching.